In 2006, America watched a father sleep in a subway bathroom with his son, and still came away believing the most important part was that he kept working. That was the emotional contract of the pursuit of happiness. The struggle could be brutal, but effort still pointed somewhere. If you stayed disciplined, protected your child, and survived long enough for one door to open, the system might finally recognize you. Watching the same film now, that promise feels different. The movie has not changed. The bathroom floor is still cold. The shelter line is still long. Chris Gardner still runs through San Francisco, carrying a medical scanner and a future he cannot afford to lose. But the audience has changed, because the country around the audience has changed. Recent American surveys show a public that is less certain the future will be better. Less certain good work will provide a stable life. And less certain the American dream is functioning the way it once claimed to. Millions of renters spend an overwhelming share of their income on housing. Many households cannot absorb even a modest emergency without borrowing, selling something, or delaying another bill. In that environment, Chris no longer looks like a man moving through a temporary obstacle course. He looks like someone living without margin. That distinction matters. A temporary obstacle is difficult, but it has an end. Life without margin means every problem can create the next problem. A tax withdrawal removes the motel money. A late pickup threatens childcare. A missed bus threatens work. A night without sleep makes the next sales call harder. The film still presents these moments as parts of one exceptional journey. Modern viewers may recognize them as the ordinary mechanics of financial precarity. None of this makes Chris less admirable. He is disciplined, resourceful, emotionally present, and unusually good at turning tiny openings into real opportunities. The father-son relationship remains sincere. The final job offer still lands because we have watched him earn every visible inch of it. The harder question is whether his success proves the pathway was open, or proves how extraordinary someone had to become just to reach it. That is why this film from 2006 feels less like a simple motivational story in 2026. It carries two truths at the same time. Hard work matters. And hard work can still be trapped inside housing costs, childcare schedules, unpaid opportunity debt, transportation, timing, and luck. So the question is not whether Chris should have tried harder. The movie already shows that he could hardly have tried more. The question is how many people can work that hard and still never find the rare opening he finally receives. Maybe that is what changed. In 2006, the ending made the struggle feel temporary. Today, the struggle feels familiar, and the ending feels exceptional. Chris does not lose stability in one dramatic collapse. He loses it through small costs arriving faster than he can create breathing room. That may be the film's most realistic idea. Poverty is often described as not having enough money. The movie shows something more complicated. Not having enough money also steals time, attention, transportation, sleep, privacy, and the ability to make one mistake without creating another. Every dollar has several jobs waiting for it. Every hour is already promised to someone. The bone density scanners make this visible. They were supposed to be a business opportunity. Instead, they become physical reminders of sunk costs. Chris carries them through buses, offices, hospitals, and streets, because every unsold machine is money trapped in an object. He cannot simply walk away from the plan, because walking away would turn hope into confirmed loss. Then the government takes money from his account for unpaid taxes. The amount is not just a number on a statement. It is rent. It is childcare. It is transportation. It is another night indoors. When a household has no reserve, one withdrawal can erase several forms of stability at once. That is why the film's deadlines feel so intense. The shelter does not care that Chris has an internship. Daycare does not stop charging because he is building a future. The bus does not wait because the motel payment is due. Each institution may be following its own rules, but together those rules create a life where he must be perfect while exhausted. Current American housing pressure makes these scenes feel less exaggerated. Millions of renters are cost-burdened, and many spend more than half their income on housing. For those households, a car repair, medical bill, cut-in hours, or childcare disruption can threaten the rent. The person may still be employed. The crisis may still be described as temporary. But the distance between working and homeless can become frighteningly small. Chris running across San Francisco is usually read as hustle. It is also a map of the logistics tax placed on people without margin. He runs because transportation takes time. He runs because the shelter line has a deadline. He runs because one lost scanner must be recovered. He runs because lateness is interpreted as irresponsibility, even when the lateness is created by conditions no responsible person could easily control. This is where motivational language can become misleading. Use every minute sounds empowering when time belongs to you. For Chris, every minute belongs to a different emergency. His efficiency is impressive, but it is not freedom. It is survival compressed into a schedule. The painful truth is that being poor can require more planning, more movement, and more emotional control than being secure. The film understands that. What it leaves open is whether any person should need that much discipline simply to remain eligible for a chance. The internship promises future income, but the present cost is paid entirely by the applicant. That single fact changes the meaning of the opportunity. The brokerage program can still be merit-based in one sense. Candidates compete. Their performance matters. Chris has to learn quickly, make calls, find clients, and outperform people who have the same limited position. But before the program can measure talent, it quietly measures something else: who can survive without a paycheck. Financial runway is rarely listed as a qualification. It does not appear on the application, yet it shapes everything. A person with savings can focus on training. A person with stable housing can risk a low-paid entry role. A person with a partner or family support can accept a temporary loss in exchange for a future opportunity. Chris has almost none of those protections. He is not only competing against other interns. He's competing against rent, childcare, hunger, transportation, and sleep. Company sees call numbers. It does not see the shelter deadline waiting at the end of the day. The evaluation measures output while treating the cost of producing that output as private information. This is why his productivity methods are both admirable and disturbing. Chris learns that if he does not drink water, he will not need a bathroom break. If he shortens each call, he can reach more clients. If he skips lunch, he can create extra minutes. Business culture can turn these moments into proof of elite discipline. But they are also evidence of permanent emergency mode. No healthy career path should require someone to erase basic human needs just to remain competitive. Chris does it because the opportunity could change everything. That makes his choice understandable. It does not automatically make the structure fair. American debates about unpaid internships and low-paid entry roles often return to the same question. Are these opportunities selecting for potential or selecting for applicants who can afford the period before potential becomes income? The answer is often both. Talent matters, but financial support determines who can stay in the room long enough to display it. The film's emotional power comes from watching Chris stay in that room. But millions of people never make it to the performance stage. They turn down the internship, leave the expensive city, stop training, or choose immediate income because someone needs food tonight. Their absence can be mistaken for lack of ambition when it may actually be evidence of responsibility. Chris succeeds because he is skilled, focused, and relentless. That truth does not disappear when we notice the gate. It becomes more precise. He is not simply proving that hard work wins. He's proving that hard work can win after a person survives an access system that many cannot afford to enter. The opportunity changes his life. The uncomfortable part is realizing that the opportunity itself required a life stable enough to survive it. Hard work is everywhere in this film. But hard work alone does not create the ending. The ending appears when effort, skill, timing, visibility, luck, and one gatekeeper finally align. The Rubik's Cube scene captures that entire idea in a few minutes. Chris is not invited into the taxi because the system has carefully measured his potential. He creates a moment. He makes himself memorable. His intelligence becomes visible in a form the decision maker can immediately recognize. A normal application might have disappeared into a stack. The cube creates access. This does not make the moment fake. Chris really can solve it. He really does use social intelligence to turn a chance encounter into a relationship. That is part of his ability. But the scene also reveals something Americans often resist saying out loud. Talent has to be seen by someone positioned to reward it. Merit is not only what you can do. It is whether your ability appears in the correct room, at the correct time, in front of someone who controls a door. Networks, geography, confidence, cultural familiarity, and simple luck shape that encounter. Two equally capable people can work equally hard and receive very different visibility. The American dream tends to compress this complexity into a cleaner equation. Effort plus character equals mobility. The Pursuit of Happyness mostly honors that equation, but the movie's details complicate it. Chris needs a taxi encounter. He needs supervisors willing to notice him. He needs a final opening in a program with limited seats. He needs his personal excellence to meet an institution at exactly the moment it is prepared to reward him. Again, none of that removes his achievement. A door opening does not matter if the person walking through it cannot perform. Chris performs. The problem begins when his exceptional path is presented as evidence that the pathway is broadly available. One success story proves possibility. It does not prove probability. It proves that mobility can happen. It does not tell us how many equally hard-working people were screened out by housing costs, child care gaps, health problems, discrimination, lack of transportation, or the absence of one memorable encounter. This matters because national myths influence how we judge failure. If success is treated as the predictable result of effort, then continued poverty begins to look like evidence of insufficient character. The structure disappears. The person becomes the explanation. Chris Gardner's story deserves better than that simplification. His achievement is powerful precisely because the odds were so severe. But if the odds are severe for millions of people, the lesson cannot only be that millions should become more exceptional. The fairest reading holds two ideas together. Chris earned his opportunity once it arrived. And a humane system should not require extraordinary luck, visibility, and endurance before ordinary talent can become a stable life. Chris is not allowed the luxury of collapsing in private because his son is watching him learn what safety means. That is why the father-son relationship remains the strongest defense of the film. Whatever we think about the American dream, the love between them is not abstract. Chris keeps trying to protect his son's imagination, even when he cannot protect him from every material consequence. The basketball scene is usually remembered for its message about protecting a dream, but its emotional meaning becomes deeper when placed beside everything else. Chris is telling his son not to let another person's limitation become his identity. At the same time, Chris is fighting a world that repeatedly tries to reduce both of them to their current circumstances. The daycare mural matters for the same reason. Happiness is misspelled in a place that is supposed to care for children while parents were. The word is visible, optimistic, and imperfect. It feels like a small version of the national promise. The idea is everywhere, but the delivery is incomplete. Parenting while poor creates a second job that the workplace never sees. Chris must manage pickup times, transportation, illness, shelter access, food, and fear. Every career decision becomes a moral decision because his son carries the consequences. Taking the unpaid internship is not simply a bold professional risk. It is a wager made with 2 lives. American parents understand this logistics pressure, even without experiencing homelessness. Childcare can consume a major share of income. A late shift can create a pickup penalty. A sick child can threaten a job. A schedule change can destroy an arrangement that took months to build. For a single parent, every missing backup becomes another form of financial risk. The bathroom scene concentrates all of this into one locked door. Chris holds his foot against it while his son sleeps. He is protecting a physical space, but he is also protecting the child from the full meaning of the moment. His face carries terror, shame, exhaustion, and determination at once. The scene is devastating because Chris has done many things Americans are told to do. He works. He takes responsibility. He pursues training. He remains with his child. Yet none of those qualities guarantee a safe place that night. This is where the film stops being an argument and becomes a human experience. A child can receive love and instability at the same time. A parent can be responsible and still be overwhelmed. A person can believe in the future while being unable to secure the present. Chris's real pursuit is not wealth. It is preventing instability from becoming his son's identity. The job matters because it promises more than income. It promises the ability to stop turning every night into a test of fatherhood. An exceptional success story can expand hope. It can also shrink our explanation of failure. The movie itself never says that every poor person who remains poor failed to work hard enough. It does not show Chris as morally superior to everyone in the shelter line. It follows one person because stories need a center. The problem begins when culture turns that one outcome into a universal formula. Motivational edits often remove the conditions and keep the result. They show the phone calls, the running, the famous advice to his son, and the final job offer. The message becomes clean: keep going, and you will get there. That message can help someone through a difficult day. It can also become cruel when there depends on housing, health, care, timing, networks, and an opening that does not exist for everyone. Inspiration becomes blame when the survivor is used as evidence against those who did not escape. If Chris could do it while homeless, why can't everyone? The question sounds like admiration, but it quietly changes the subject. Instead of asking why anyone must endure these conditions, it asks why more people fail to endure them successfully. This is especially important in American culture because personal responsibility is a powerful moral language. It can protect agency. It can remind people that choices matter. But when used alone, it can make structural barriers disappear and turn suffering into a character test. The opposite simplification is also incomplete. Saying the system explains everything would erase Chris's discipline, judgment, courage, and sales ability. He makes choices. He develops strategies. He takes risks. He protects his son. His agency is real. The most honest reading refuses to choose between human agency and structural reality. People make decisions inside conditions they did not choose. Effort can change outcomes, but the same effort does not produce the same result from every starting point. Luck matters without making success meaningless. Barriers matter without making people powerless. That is why the final offer feels so overwhelming. The audience has been denied relief for nearly the entire film. When Chris hears that he has the job, we are not only celebrating professional achievement. We are experiencing the removal of constant threat. But outside that office, the shelter line still exists. Other candidates still leave without the position. Other parents still work without enough housing, care, or time. The movie follows the person whose door opens, not because the others lack humanity, but because his opening creates an ending. Hope is valuable. The question is what kind of hope the film leaves us with. Is it hope that anyone can survive a brutal system? Or hope that a country could build a system where survival is not the price of being considered worthy? Maybe the American dream did not disappear. Maybe the definition moved. For much of the 20th century, the dream was often described as upward motion, a better job, a home, wealth, status, and a life larger than the one your parents had. For many Americans now, the dream sounds more basic. A stable apartment, enough savings to survive one emergency, time with family, work that does not require permanent panic, the ability to plan more than 1 month ahead. That shift changes the final scene of the Pursuit of Happyness. Chris walks into the crowd after receiving the job, trying to contain the emotion. The moment is triumphant, but it is not really about becoming rich. It is about the possibility that tomorrow will stop being an emergency. That may be why the movie still works. Beneath the language of success, it understands something simple. People need margin. They need a little distance between one problem and total collapse. They need enough security to be a parent, a worker, a neighbor, and a person without every role competing for survival. The film's message becomes stronger when effort is not confused with fairness. Chris's discipline deserves admiration. His achievement can inspire without becoming proof that everyone received the same opportunity. The movie can honor personal responsibility and still make us question a culture that demands heroic endurance before offering ordinary stability. In that sense, the misspelled word happiness feels almost perfect. The promise is recognizable. The intention is sincere, but something about its delivery is incomplete. Happiness is written on the wall, while the people beneath it are still trying to secure childcare, income, housing, and time. A humane American dream would not eliminate ambition. It would not guarantee identical outcomes. It would offer more than the right to compete while desperate. It would make sure that losing one paycheck, one apartment, or one source of childcare does not force a family into a test of character. The Pursuit of Happyness was released in 2006. But its emotional conflict feels close to the present because America still needs stories like Chris Gardner's. The country still wants proof that effort can matter. It still wants to believe that a person can be seen, chosen, and lifted by one opportunity. The warning is that an exceptional story can become a substitute for ordinary security. We celebrate the person who survives the impossible, then forget to ask why the possible became so narrow. Chris's final victory can remain beautiful. It can also leave us with a more difficult question than it did 20 years ago. Should the American dream mean becoming extraordinary enough to escape insecurity, or building a country where an ordinary life no longer requires extraordinary survival?